"Humans," Zilzer sneered. "The cowards of the stars. You call yourself sentient, yet you cling to peace as if it were a shield. You believe your negotiations and treaties can protect you, but we see it for what it is, fear. You are weak, pathetic, unworthy of even being our enemies." He paused, a cruel smile curling at the edges of his mouth. Behind him, holograms projected the Zyphorian fleet's conquests, planets consumed by fire, entire species obliterated by Zyphorian might. Each image was a grim reminder of their dominance, their ruthless efficiency. "For too long, we have tolerated your existence," he continued, voice booming with confidence. "But now the time has come. You have one cycle to send us your finest warriors. Let them face the Zyphorian elite, or we will raze Earth to the ground. Show us if you have any honor, or die as the cowards we know you to be." With a final, mocking grin, the transmission ended, leaving humanity in a stunned silence. In the heart of Earth's United Global Command, high above the planet in the orbital defense station, the tension was thick enough to cut. Generals and diplomats stared at one another, their faces grim. The Zyphorians had left them no choice. Humanity had never faced an enemy this powerful, an empire that stretched across systems, undefeated for millennia. General Malcolm Rayner, a veteran of Earth's defense forces, stood at the head of the table. His broad shoulders sagged under the weight of the decision they were about to make. "This isn't just a war. It's a message," he said, his voice gravelly with age. "They want to break us before we even fight." Around the table, the council members shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered about diplomacy, evacuation plans, or even surrender. But for a core group, surrender was not an option. From the back of the room, a deep voice spoke up. Captain Andre Russell, leader of Squad Alpha, the most elite unit of soldiers Earth had ever trained, stepped forward. His presence commanded attention. Towering, muscular, Andre represented the very best of humanity's warriors. "We can't back down," Andre said firmly, his eyes sweeping the room. "This is exactly what they want. To see us retreat, to prove their point that we're weak. We are not weak." General Rayner nodded, his expression resolute. "You're right, Captain. We have one option. We strike at their heart. We send a message of our own." All eyes turned to Andre. His team, handpicked from the deadliest soldiers Earth had ever produced, had been preparing for something like this. For years, humanity had known a day like this might come, and Squad Alpha had been built for it. Andre's mind flashed to his squad mates. Lieutenant Marcus Paul, his second-in-command, whose tactical brilliance had saved them more times than Andre could count. Sergeant Alan Graves, a hulking brute of a man whose strength was matched only by his loyalty, and Corporal Leo Chun, the silent, lethal sniper who rarely missed a shot. Each of them was ready for this, trained for this. Andre spoke again. "We'll take the fight to them. They're expecting fear. We'll give them fury." In the command center, the gravity of the moment pressed down on everyone. There was no cheering, no rallying cries, just the cold, hard reality of war. General Rayner stood, his gaze hard. "You'll lead the strike team, Captain. Your mission is to infiltrate the Zyphorian capital, Zilzerath. Kill their leaders. Break their chain of command." Andre nodded, but his mind was already on the mission ahead. This wasn't just about survival. It was about proving something to the Zyphorians, to humanity itself. They weren't just fighting to save Earth. They were fighting for the right to exist, to stand as equals in a galaxy that had always looked down on them. As the meeting adjourned, Andre caught General Rayner's eye. "We'll make them regret ever mocking us." Rayner's lips twitched into a grim smile. "I know you will, son." That night, as the squad prepared for deployment, Andre stood by the observation window, staring out at the stars. Beyond the veil of darkness lay Zilzerath, and beyond that, the Zyphorian king who had dared to call humanity cowards. The journey through the wormhole was brief but disorienting. For Squad Alpha, it was routine, but the stakes this time felt heavier. Captain Andre Russell clenched his jaw as the wormhole's vortex spit them out over Zilzarath, the heart of the Zyphorian Empire. The planet loomed large beneath them, an intimidating world bathed in a sickly red glow. Its towering obsidian structures clawed at the sky, and the atmosphere itself seemed hostile, pulsing with alien energy. Lieutenant Marcus Paul adjusted the visor on his helmet, his tactical mind already running 100 scenarios. "We need to move fast," he said, his voice crisp over the comms. "The planet's sensors will detect our breach soon." Andre nodded, his gaze sweeping over his team. "We go silent. No mistakes." Sergeant Alan Graves hefted his plasma rifle, the massive weapon looking almost small in his grip. "Let's make these bastards pay," he muttered, his eyes narrowing beneath his helmet. Beside him, Corporal Leochin was already scanning the terrain with his sniper scope, eyes sharp and unblinking. They touched down in the shadows of a massive fortress wall, the black stone of Zilzarath's architecture looming over them. The fortress wasn't just a palace. It was a statement of Zyphorian dominance. Every angle of its jagged architecture screamed intimidation, its spikes and curves designed to remind invaders of their insignificance. But Squad Alpha was undeterred. Moving swiftly, they advanced under the cover of darkness. The air on Zilzarath was thick, almost oily, making every breath feel like it was drawn through a swamp. Andre led the way, his augmented muscles moving in perfect harmony with the advanced tactical suit he wore. The team's HUDs flickered with information, but they kept their eyes on the mission ahead. A faint hum broke through the stillness, and Andre raised a hand. Zyphorian Patrol, 5 soldiers, their reptilian forms clad in shimmering armor, slithered around a corner. Their eyes, glowing a dull yellow, scanned the surroundings for intruders. They hadn't seen the humans yet. Andre signaled the team, silent kill. With practiced precision, they moved like shadows. Marcus, quick and efficient, looped behind one guard and drove a plasma dagger through its spine. Grizzly's massive hands snapped another's neck like a twig. Chun, ever the ghost, took out 2 from a distance before the bodies hit the ground. In seconds, the patrol was down, and the squad moved on without a sound. As they neared the palace's outer defenses, Paul's voice came over the comms, low but tense. "We're in range of their security systems. They'll know something's up soon." Andre gritted his teeth. They couldn't afford detection this early, not before they reached the throne room. "Chun, disable it." Chun nodded, his fingers moving quickly over a control pad. "Done," he whispered, hacking into the Zyphorian network and temporarily disabling the surveillance systems. It would buy them some time, but not much. They pressed on, crossing the desolate courtyard of the palace. The palace doors, massive and foreboding, loomed ahead. Andre signaled the breach. Grizzly, ever the powerhouse, moved to plant a controlled explosive at the door's base. The blast would be quick and silent, designed to get them inside without alerting the entire Zyphorian force. But as the charges went off and the doors groaned open, a deafening roar split the night. Zyphorian elites, taller and bulkier than the soldiers they had encountered, stormed out. Their scales gleamed with a biometallic sheen, and their energy blades crackled to life. "Contact!" Andre shouted, and the battlefield erupted. Blades clashed with plasma fire as Squad Alpha engaged the elites. Andre danced between them, his speed unmatched, cutting down enemies with calculated strikes. Paul, ever the tactician, coordinated their movements, calling out threats and openings as Grizzly barreled to the Zyphorians with raw power, sending their massive bodies crashing into walls. But the elites were formidable. They fought with the ferocity of cornered beasts, their strength and size nearly overwhelming. Chun, perched atop a ledge, provided cover fire, taking out critical threats with pinpoint accuracy. But for every one that fell, more seemed to come. Andre locked eyes with one of the Zyphorian commanders, a towering figure with glowing red eyes and a blade twice the length of any human weapon. The alien lunged, and Andre parried, feeling the weight of the strike reverberate through his arms. This was no ordinary soldier. The commander let out a guttural hiss, mocking Andre in its native tongue. Coward, it spat, swinging its blade again, faster this time. But Andre was faster. With a fluid twist, he dodged the blow and drove his plasma blade deep into the alien's chest. "Not today," he muttered as the commander collapsed in a heap. The palace halls were littered with bodies now, the air thick with the stench of blood and burnt metal. Squad Alpha regrouped, panting but still standing. The Xiphorian elites were down, but the mission wasn't over. Far from it. They had made it inside the fortress, but the real battle still lay ahead. Beyond the next set of doors was the throne room, where King Zilzer waited. Andre wiped the blood from his blade and met his team's eyes. "We finished this," he said, his voice low and determined. The squad nodded in unison, their exhaustion giving way to steely resolve. They moved forward, ready to confront the Xiphorian king and end this war once and for all. The throne room doors crashed open with a deafening bang, revealing the vast, ominous chamber where King Zilzer waited. The room was grand and cold, with towering pillars carved from obsidian and a high ceiling that seemed to swallow all light. At the far end of the hall, King Zilzer sat on a throne of alien metal, his golden armor gleaming beneath the dim red glow of Zilzaratha's dying sun. His eyes, burning with malice, locked onto the approaching humans. Behind him, the shattered remains of his council lay motionless, their bodies crumpled where Squad Alpha had torn through them. Andre Russell led his team into the chamber, his pulse steady despite the gravity of the moment. This was it, the final confrontation. King Zilzer stood, his towering frame casting a long shadow over the room. He was massive, even more imposing than the Xiphorian elites they had faced. His crown was a cruel, jagged thing, and his eyes shone with a mixture of hatred and disbelief. "So," Zilzer hissed, his voice carrying a venomous edge, "the cowards finally come to die." Andre stepped forward, his gaze never leaving the Xiphorian king. "No more speeches. No more mockery. This ends now." Zilzer's lip curled in disdain. "You truly believe you, a mere human, can defeat me? I have crushed empires older and stronger than yours. You are nothing." With a guttural roar, Zilzer unsheathed his massive energy blade, a weapon pulsating with raw, destructive power. The air around it shimmered with lethal energy, warping the space near it as if the blade itself defied reality. Andre readied his own plasma sword, the smaller, human weapon looking almost insignificant in comparison. But Andre didn't waver. Zilzer lunged with terrifying speed, his blade cleaving through the air toward Andre. The human captain sidestepped just in time, the Xiphorian's weapon slicing clean through a nearby pillar, shattering it into dust. Andre countered, driving his blade toward Zilzer's exposed side, but the king twisted, deflecting the blow with his gauntlet. The two circled each other, their movements quick and lethal. Around them, Squad Alpha spread out, engaging the remaining guards that tried to protect their king. Paul and Chun moved with lethal efficiency, picking off threats with practiced precision, while Grizzly held the line against the bulk of the Xiphorian reinforcements. The duel between Andre and Zilzer was fierce, each strike from the alien king threatening to overpower Andre. Zilzer's size and strength made him a devastating opponent, but Andre had something the Xiphorian king did not: speed and precision. Andre darted in and out of Zilzer's reach, slashing at his armor, testing for weaknesses. "You fight well for a human," Zilzer sneered, his tone dripping with condescension. "But it will not save you." Andre didn't answer. Instead, he feinted to the left, drawing Zilzer's blade in that direction, then spun and drove his plasma sword deep into the alien's abdomen. Zilzer let out a bellow of pain, staggering back. His golden armor, once pristine, was now scorched and cracked. "You've already lost," Andre growled, watching the king falter. Zilzer roared again, this time more in fury than in pain. He swung wildly, his strikes growing desperate. Andre dodged and ducked, his focus unwavering. With one final movement, he ducked beneath Zilzer's guard and slashed upward, severing the alien's weapon arm at the elbow. The king let out a howl of rage and agony, collapsing to his knees, clutching the stump where his arm had once been. Andre stood over him, his chest heaving. Zilzer's eyes blazed with hatred, but there was something else in them now, fear. You cannot do this, Zilzer gasped, his voice weak and strained. I am a king. I am invincible. Andre sheathed his blade. Not anymore. Without another word, he grabbed the fallen king by his leg, dragging the massive alien across the cold floor of his own throne room. The once proud ruler of the Xiphorians, now broken and humiliated, groaned in pain, his crown falling to the ground with a hollow clatter. Squad Alpha moved to Andre's side, the palace now eerily quiet as the last of the Xiphorian soldiers lay dead around them. Grizzly kicked aside the crown, spitting on the floor. Not so tough now, huh? As Andre dragged Zilzer out into the open courtyard, the remaining Xiphorian forces, those too afraid to challenge Squad Alpha, watched in stunned silence. Their king, the ruler they had believed to be invincible, was nothing more than a beaten, pathetic figure, dragged through the dirt by the very species he had mocked. Let them see, Andre muttered, more to himself than to his team. Let them know what happens when they underestimate us. The Xiphorians didn't move. They stood frozen, their once fearsome gazes now filled with disbelief and terror. Zilzer's empire had crumbled in a matter of hours, and humanity had proven themselves more than worthy adversaries. Andre let go of the king's leg, leaving Zilzer lying in the dirt, gasping and defeated. It's over, Andre said quietly. For you, for your empire. As they boarded their extraction ship, Andre glanced back at the ruins of the Xiphorian capital, the broken remnants of an empire that had once threatened the entire galaxy. They had done it. Humanity had done it. The ship rose into the sky, leaving the battered world behind. Andre, staring out at the red horizon, felt a grim satisfaction. Humanity had not only survived, they had won.